And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to check out a two-player game from the mini game library from Level 99 Games, and that game is Pixel Tactics. This is a two-player strategy game in which each player will have their own deck of cards, and they'll play out a battle trying to kill the other person's leader on this board right here. So real quick, why don't we see what you get inside of the box, and we'll go over how the game plays, and then I'll come back here and I'll give you my final opinions on Pixel Tactics. So here you can see the setup for Pixel Tactics. Each player will play on one half of this board, trying to attack the leader of the opponent on the other side of the board and deal fatal damage to them before they can deal fatal damage to your leader. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to get 5 cards, and these cards are going to be the cards that you play as units, your leader, or as orders in the game. So, each card will have a leader on it on one side, and each leader has 2 traits, an attack and a defense. And the attack, in this case, is 1, with a defense or life of 21. And it will also have an ability. So, for example, this one says that when you recruit, which is an action usually, recruiting is a free action and doesn't count as your 2 actions for your turn. And each of these different cards will have a different leader on it with different abilities. Some will have more hit points and more attack, but a not as useful ability. Some will have less hit points, but awesome abilities. Some will just kind of have a whole bunch of hit points and no ability, or very minor ability. It'll vary from character to character, but when you get your first 5 cards, each player will choose one leader and place it in the leader position on their board, with the leader facing towards their opponent. So now we see that this player has a 4 attack, 20 hit point leader, and the heroes and leaders take 1 less damage from attacks once they are attacked. And this player here has a 3 attack, 20 hit point leader that says your opponent plays with his hand revealed. So this player is going to get to know what their opponent's hand is at all times. From that point on, you're going to play the game with the other side of the card. So we're no longer on the leader side, you'd flip it over, and you'd see that each side has a unit on it. For example, this one is a witch, with 1 attack and 5 hit points. In addition, you'll see that each of these cards has color-coded abilities on it. We have a red, a green, and a blue ability, which correspond to the different ranks of your grid over here. See, there's 3 positions in the Vanguard rank, which will correspond to the red ability, 3 positions in the flank rank, which will correspond to the green ability, 2 positions in the leader position, and then 3 positions in the rear flank, which will correspond to the blue ability on the card. These are going to differ on all of the units. They will be different, and they're going to change as you kind of move from the front to the back. So we'll see here that the red ability for this one says that +1 strength for each corpse in both units. Now, corpses are going to be dead characters, so for every dead character, this witch is going to get stronger if she's in the Vanguard, as opposed to the green action that says +4 strength if standing behind a corpse. So if there's a corpse in front of her, she's going to get even stronger. And then at the bottom here, it says attack. Clear all corpses in a single wave in either unit. So what that means is if she attacks, she can decide to clear all of the corpses in any of these single waves from either of the 2 units in the game. So players will have a hand of these cards. And on their turn, they're going to get 2 actions in each wave. So there'll be a Vanguard wave, a flank wave, and a rear wave. And starting in the Vanguard wave, you get 2 actions. Actions could be to recruit a character by placing it into one of the positions in that wave. That would be 1 action. But for this character, actually, or the character I showed you earlier that recruits for free, that would be free. But usually, this costs 1 action to play this down. And now, when you use it, it would have the red ability. In addition to that, you could do something like playing an order. Orders are the purple abilities on the card. So we didn't cover that because there's no purple position on the board. But each character also has a purple, which means you can discard this card for that ability. It does not come into play. You just play it for the purple ability, but they're usually very strong. So this one says, return all corpses in a single wave to their owner's hand, which means that you can take dead things back from the board and place them into their owner's hand by discarding this card. And that would cost you 1 action. You can also do things like attacking. Now, this isn't allowed on the first round, but if you had a person in a wave, you can attack your opponent's other wave in a melee attack. Some characters will have melee, others will have ranged. Now, melee attacks work in that you're able to attack from the front of any column, so right now the witch is at the front of this column, to the front of any other column. And right now, Seth here is at the front of this column because there's no one in the Vanguard wave. So the witch could attack Seth if this were the situation, dealing 1 damage to him, and he would be 1 point towards losing the game. Alternatively, if you have a ranged character, you can attack from anywhere in your area to anywhere in your opponent's area as long as there's nobody with the intercept ability in your way. So You can play characters, you can play orders, you can make attacks. You can also restructure by moving somebody from one position in your area to another position in your area for one action. So if you've played somebody but you decide that they'd be better off somewhere else, you can move them around. You can also clear corpses. So if through the course of the game, one of your characters takes 5 damage, or this character takes 5 damage, he would die and become a corpse. You can take your action to clear a corpse from the board, moving it to the discard pile, opening that spot up again to have a place to play. The final possible action is to draw a card and add it to your hand, replenishing your available units or orders that you have in order to play. So, in each wave you're going to get 2 actions, and then your opponent will get 2 actions in the same wave. And when you play cards in this manner, you can only play to the appropriate wave. So if we're in the Vanguard wave, I can really only play cards to the Vanguard wave, or activate cards that are in the Vanguard wave, or use the order ability of any card that I discard from my hand. Now, the way restructuring and clearing corpses work is you can do that to any position in the board, so they don't really follow the waves rule. If I wanted to clear a corpse in the flank while we're in the Vanguard wave, that's perfectly fine. But after I take my 2 actions and my opponent takes 2 actions, we're going to move to the flank wave. And we get 2 actions in that wave, playing cards there, activating cards that are there, or clearing corpses and restructuring our board in order to try to deal the maximum number of damage to our opponent's leader and remove them from the game before we do. The same is true for the rear wave, 2 actions and then 2 actions, and then we would pass the first player marker to the other player and they would take 2 Vanguard actions, repeating this until one player manages to deal fatal damage to their opponent's leader by using the abilities of all of their different units, and trust me, all of these units in these decks are very varied in the way that they work. Some of them will allow you to attack with other characters, some of them will allow you to attack ranged, some of them will block damage or reassign damage from one unit to another in order to protect your hero or protect your leader or protect other heroes that you have on the board. So there's many and various ways to use the tactics that are available from the units on these cards in order to defeat your opponent. Well, there you have it. That is Pixel Tactics, a very good 2-player game in my opinion, one that I enjoy quite a bit. There's a very small learning curve to the game. I mean, it's really a matter of picking your leader, which of course could be different every time you play the game, as long as you play the game less than like 30 some times. The game could be different each time with a different leader that's going to have you with different focuses, trying different things, and of course using the different abilities of your cards differently. I know that's a lot of different, but there really is a lot of variation in the game, with each of your units having 4 potential abilities, 3 on the board, and then 1 that you can discard the card for. There's just so much variety in the game that I think it'll stay fresh for a very long time, and because it's so simple, we'll get to the table enough to actually see some of that variety in play. I could really see this game kind of evolving with more iterations, more cards, and of course, maybe even some deck builder aspects. I don't know if that's something they're going to do, but I could see it kind of working out, where you could build your own deck or customize your deck beforehand, or even throughout the game. So if that sounds good to you, I would definitely suggest checking out this game from the minigame library. That is Pixel Tactics, a very good 2-player game, one that I plan on playing a lot more, and I'm glad to have in my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.